Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today in our InfoSec seminar organized by the Information Systems Security and Assurance Management Department in Mahalshan School of Management. We begin our April InfoSec seminar by acknowledging that although this seminar is being held virtually, Concordia University of Edmonton is located on Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many indigenous peoples, including Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Nakota Sioux people. We respect and acknowledge this. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Andreas Gluzo, the Deputy Provost, who have joined us today for this great InfoSec talk. In this seminar, we are pleased to have Lisa Yearwood and Sami Shahiri to give us an interesting talk about cyberterrorism and cybercrime intelligence, understanding and countering digital threats. Lisa Yearwood is an expert in both financial management and information security with a career spanning multiple industries. She holds a BBA in accounting and IT and a master's in information system security management. Lisa has held key roles at GEA, including the manager of information security, where she has led efforts to secure critical infrastructure. She is a certified information system security professional, CISSP, and recently earned her GCIB certification. Sami Shahiri is a senior cybersecurity operations advisor with over 10 years of experience in cybersecurity, risk management, and technology governance. He specializes in securing the cloud environments, digital forensics, incident response, and vulnerability management. Sami is an active thought leader contributing to cybersecurity communities like ISACA and the Cloud Security Alliance. He holds a master's in information system security management and multiple certifications, including certification in risk and information systems control. Thanks, Lisa and Sami, for being with us today and sharing your experience with our audience. Just one quick note. During the presentation, microphones will be turned off to avoid interrupting the speaker. At the end, we will have 10 to 15 minutes for questions and the microphones will be turned back on. Please limit yourself to one question to give opportunity to other participants to ask. If we have enough time, please feel free to react again. And at the end, I will share the registration and feedback form with you. Please ensure you provide your name, email address, and a brief feedback so we can send your certification of attendance. Thank you. Please go ahead, Lisa.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by shouting out all of the Concordia University of Edmonton, the students, the faculty, and the alumni of the mission program. Both Sami and I are alum of the program. We both graduated in 2012, and I saw some other alumni that were there in our year join the call. Welcome. We appreciate you joining us and supporting us. Like Islam said, my name is Lisa Yearwood, and Sami and I will be taking you through the topic today of cyberterrorism and cybercrime intelligence, understanding and countering digital threats. Our presentation aims to provide insights into the threats, actors, and strategies that are being used today to mitigate digital dangers in society and in our hyper-connected world. However, before we start, we're required to show you a legal and ethical warning, and I'll give you all of 3.3 seconds to read it, and our disclaimer and warning statement. We urge everyone to ensure they remain compliant with all legal and ethical standards when applying any of the practices that we discussed today. This is our agenda, and basically it's just really a quick look. We'll start with a foundational understanding of cyberterrorism and cybercrime, and then we'll explore a couple tactics. We'll give you some real-world case studies, and finally, Sami will take you through some countermeasures and policies that can be used. And as Islam said, we'll leave some time at the end for questions. So we start with an introduction. And so basically, as the internet has grown into a space for communication, commerce, and data sharing, so have the vulnerabilities. Terrorist organizations And cyber criminals are increasingly using digital tools to carry out attacks, recruit followers, and fund operations. In such an environment, structured intelligence and international cooperation are key. And you'll find that my slides will lag behind because I don't like to bring the words up for people to read while I'm talking. So there are challenges such as anonymity, jurisdictional issues, and technological advances which will complicate our landscape. So what exactly is cyber terrorism? It's the use of digital technologies to conduct attacks or to cause harm that is intended to disrupt systems, instill fear, or cause damage. And they usually do it for ideological, political, or for religious motives. Typically, it is executed by individuals, groups, and sometimes even state-sponsored actors with the express aim of damaging critical infrastructure, stealing sensitive information, or inflicting significant economic, physical, or psychological harm to a group, a government, or society as a whole. The targets generally include critical infrastructure, government agencies, financial or health systems, and or communication networks. The methods that they're using for cyber terrorism include phishing, ransomware, disinformation campaigns, encrypted communications. Obviously, this is not a fully exhaustive list, but they only gave us 45 minutes and there are too many to mention. So I'm going to give you some recent examples of cyber terrorism, and I've tried to stay fairly current. There are a couple that I've gone back a couple years with, just because they were relevant to Canadian infrastructure. And just in case you missed them or you weren't aware they were cyber terrorism, I just thought I'd bring them up. So currently, this is the 2024 Ukraine cybersecurity challenges, and this is related to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And NATO countries have experienced continuous cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure and government agencies. And it is being carried out by Russian-backed threat actors, such as their group APT-28. And they basically aim to disrupt military communications and critical services. Then there was in 2023, the Iranian cyber operations, which happened in April, and it was a group which was linked to the Iranian state, and they conducted attacks targeting critical infrastructure in the US and other countries. They deployed custom-made malware, and literally it highlighted Iran's aggressive cyber operations. Going back a little further and a little closer to home for me was the 2021 Florida water treatment plant, and it was a malicious actor who gained unauthorized access to a plant's network, and they attempted to alter chemical levels in the water supply. Obviously, I think everybody can understand exactly how dangerous this is because everybody drinks water, and you have no control. If somebody puts something in your water supply, then the whole population gets it, and it disrupts society as a whole. So while the attack was thwarted before any harm occurred, it just shows that the vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure exist, they're real, and they're really wide-reaching. And then there was the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in 2021 also, which were attacked with ransomware, and it led to fuel shortages and regional emergencies. The company, they paid $4.4 million of ransom to the dark side hacking group to regain control of its systems. And I can mention a whole lot of other things, like during COVID, they were hacking hospital systems. They were holding patient records for ransom. So what is cybercrime? We're going to make the distinction between cyber terrorism and cybercrime. And so cybercrime refers to illegal activities carried out from anywhere in the world. And in order to be considered cyber, they have to use computers, networks, or the internet. And so I'm going to give some examples of what exactly are cyber crimes. I was hoping for audience interaction, but I'm just going to bring them up. So there's hacking, which is the unauthorized access to systems or networks to steal data, cause damage or gain control over a system. There's malware and viruses, which are basically software which is designed to disrupt or do damage to devices and or networks. There's identity theft, which is stealing personal information such as social security numbers, credit cards, and it's usually used to impersonate a victim. There's phishing, which is where criminals send generally a fake email and hope that you click a link on it so they can get access to your passwords, your bank, or some other such data. There's ransomware, which we talked about before, which is basically malicious software that encrypts a victim's files until they pay a ransom to get the data restored. There's online fraud, which is credit card fraud, fake e-commerce websites, and investment scams that literally trick people into losing money. We have cyber stalking and harassment. This is one area that nobody generally guesses when I open the mics for people to tell me what cyber crimes are. And it's basically just using the internet or a digital device to stalk, harass, or threaten individuals. There are botnets, which are networks of infected computers, which are used for cyber attacks such as DDoS. And there is intellectual property theft, which is stealing proprietary data, software, or trade secrets from businesses or individuals. So this is just a quick overview of the cybercrime ecosystem. So we have the cyber criminals, and generally, like we said before, they're hackers, they're script kiddies, or they can be state-sponsored actors. There's the infrastructure that they're using, which is the bulletproof hosting. They use command and control servers. They use the dark web marketplaces and cryptors and packers. And then there are the services and the tools over here on the left, which they use, and they can use malware developers, exploit kits, phishing kits, botnet services, and access brokers. The whole purpose is monetization, and so they're using ransomware as a service. They're using banking trojans, crypto miners, and carding and skimming. And at the end of that, once they have all of your money gathered, then they're using money laundering, and they're using fake front businesses, money mules, and mixers and tumblers. So we just talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies and cybercrime. So terrorist groups have increasingly turned to cybercrime, and by using ransomware and phishing, that's how they're using they're generating funds to fund their activities. And so they're using ransomware payments, money laundering, and privacy coins and dark web transactions. And some of the challenges that we see in cybersecurity for these kind of crimes is cryptocurrencies provide them anonymity and decentralization, and it makes it impossible, if not extremely difficult, to track financial transactions. There's blockchain analysis techniques using open source tools and identifying illegal and illicit wallets and following money trails. And then there's submitting know your customer requests for account attribution. So I work in critical infrastructure, and we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about critical infrastructure. So there are 16 critical infrastructure sectors that are part of a complex interconnected ecosystem. And basically any threat to these sectors could have potentially debilitating national security, economic, and or public health or safety consequences. You can see a little bit on the picture on the left, some of the sectors. I didn't show all of them, but here's a list of the 16 sectors. And obviously some things are more critical than others. They're all considered critical infrastructure. And if you look at the list, I'm sure you can see why. But like I said, some things are more critical than others. And the most critical of all of them is energy. Because even though IT sector is at the center, none of them, including the IT sector, can function without energy. And that just happens to be where I work. I work in energy. So there's a presidential policy directive which identifies the energy sector as being uniquely critical because it provides an enabling function across all the other critical infrastructure sectors. So here's some attacks on critical infrastructure. So basically, we rely on operational technology. So there's IT and there's OT. IT is the information technology, OT is operational technology. And that basically just refers to the hardware and software that we use to monitor, control, and automate physical processes in industries such as transportation and utilities, and obviously energy, water, sewer, nuclear. So the digital transformation of operational technology is what has allowed us to introduce all of these vulnerabilities that these people are taking advantage of. Cyber criminals exploit these operational technologies for financial or geopolitical motives. And some emerging threats that we're seeing is leveraging nearby networks to gain covert access to the targeted systems. And we see this a lot, especially in Florida, in the energy sector, where you'll see a random vehicle parked outside the electrical substation, and you know what they're trying to do. So some recent attacks on operational technology, and most of these you may be aware of. So this is currently ongoing, April 2025. Pro-Russian hacktivists are attacking UK infrastructure, and there are approximately 90 of them, pro-Russian and pro-Palestinian hacktivist groups that are known collectively as the Holy League, and they have been conducting basically weekly cyber attacks against UK organizations. There was last month, the March 2025 cyber attacks disrupted the Ukraine state railway services. They experienced a significant cyber attack that disrupted passenger and freight transportation systems. In December 2024, there was increased cybersecurity vulnerabilities in the United States water systems, and the EPA identified vulnerabilities in drinking water and wastewater systems, affecting the water supply of approximately 193 million people. And while you think wastewater is actually waste, what we do with it is we take it, we clean it, we filter it, we desalinate it, we do whatever we need to do with it, and we reuse it, whether it be for agriculture or for drinking water. And so when you make our water, when you affect our water, you're literally affecting the quality of life for people. And then in June 2023, Suncor Energy had a cyber attack that disrupted their payment systems at Petro-Canada gas stations nationwide. And that led to operational challenges and customer inconvenience, which highlighted the vulnerabilities within the Canadian energy sector as well. So I kind of did this little chart here for you as an evolution of cybercrime starting in 2007, where you see the first major state-level cyber conflict. It led to the NATO cyber defense advancements. And this was the Estonia cyber attack, which was carried out by pro-Russian groups. They used simple DDoS and website defacements. They targeted governments, banks, and the media. And the impact, it was a nationwide digital disruption. And then we go from there to 2015, which was the first confirmed cyber attack to shut down a power grid. And that was the Ukraine power grid hack, which was carried out obviously by Russian state-linked group. They used malware, SCADA intrusions, and they targeted the electric utilities, and approximately 230,000 people lost power. It was temporary, but it's still an inconvenience, especially in winter when it's cold. And then we get to 2025, which is going on right now, which is the Israel-Hamas cyber conflict. And this is the first time that we're actually seeing real-time cyber warfare in tandem with kinetic military conflicts. And they're using AI integrated cyber defenses. It is Hamas-affiliated cyber units versus the Israeli cyber forces. They're using DDoS, phishing, disinformation, infrastructure attacks, and AI-driven cyber defenses. They're targeting telecoms, media, finance, military systems, energy, and the disruptions, the impact is they're having disruptions and intelligence warfare. So if you look at over time from 2007 to 2025, here are some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry. We're seeing increased sophistication from a basic DDoS attack in 2007 to a coordinated infrastructure attacks and AI cyber defense in 2025. They've expanded their target, so they've shifted from informational websites, and now they're attacking critical infrastructure, energy systems, and civilian services. There's integration where they're now integrating with physical warfare, and cyber ops now synchronizes with ground operations. And then we're seeing state-backed actors. Cybercrime has evolved into cyber warfare led by nation state-backed groups, and that basically applies to Russia. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sammy.
Well, thank you so
We'll
much,
take
Lisa.
you through the other parts of this, the threat actors and other stuff. Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Nice to meet all of you, Concordia. I was a student at Concordia, and I was happy to make friends, including Lisa herself. What we really noticed in terms of cybersecurity is always the increase of attacks, increase of threats. What you see here in this slide, it was a study by a cybersecurity company. It's called DNV. It's from Norway. They focus on energy and cybersecurity. So they asked this question to cybersecurity professionals around the globe. About 1,000 something professionals respond to this survey. The question was, are you concerned about threats actors? And Lisa mentioned them, but in this presentation, we are focusing on two groups, terrorist groups and cybercriminals. And you can see over the years, like 2022, 2023, 2024, what's happening. The threats are increased, and obviously the concern is really increased. So that's what, just good to look at surveys and studies. Can we go to the second slide, Lisa, please? What really makes cybersecurity attacks worse is the insider. The insider is always magnify those and amplify those attacks. Why? Because they can give you access. They already inside. So if they already inside, that means or whatever you put there from security controls, you really cannot prevent those attacks. So yes, individuals that really cooperate with terrorist organizations can impact those organizations, especially when I talk about critical infrastructure. The damage there is sabotage, and it's really national security and public safety matter. So facilitation of cyber attacks from inside is a big topic. Now, can we go to the second one or the third one? I think Lisa mentioned this, which is propaganda. Propaganda comes in terms of fake news. What we've noticed lately is use of online platforms like social media, encrypted messages because they want to hide something. So mainly the most interesting one is recruiting. So recruiting is coming to really how extremists wants to spend time to convince their ideology about terrorists. They use the social media. One more slide. This slide is basically talking about terminologies that we saw in terms of propaganda, or so we can find at least two groups here is terrorists and cybercriminals. To the right, malinformation, those mostly related to the terrorist. So terrorists also likes malinformation because they can spread hate. Hate speech is one of their technique. Harassment. So that's one of those terminology that you need to look at is what's misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. All of them are harmful, but to the right, the red ones are more harmful. It's all about those false information, spreading them. So yeah, something to mention is, Lisa already mentioned it, is artificial intelligence. So the bad people are using artificial intelligence to amplify their cyber threats and continue their risk. This is part of the Canadian National Security Strategy. So there's a study of how artificial intelligence increased the incidence, resulting in harming people or near to harm people. And yeah, so we can see from 2022 until now, there is huge increase. We discussed the issue itself many times, but what we really interesting to look at is what are the strategies as cybersecurity professional, what strategies that you have in place to mitigate the cyber threats, especially from terrorist groups and cyber criminals. I listed here 3 strategies, but there are too many strategies you can do. The most important one is threat hunting. So we don't wait till the incidents happened. We always come and detect things before they happened. So if there is a malware, how can we find those signature before things happening? Identifying those threat techniques. It's always good to understand how the attacks happen somewhere else so you can prevent it in your company or your organization. Reducing the activities from threats comes of this proactive cyber defense. Lately, the main the topic there is zero trust. What does it mean, zero trust? Zero trust is the concept of limiting the access to assets and also prevent the lateral movement. So yes, why do we give people access to everything? That's not a zero trust. So this is one of the strategies that we use in cyber threats mitigations. Using artificial, no, Lisa, can you go back, please? So using artificial intelligence. So if the bad people are using artificial intelligence, why don't we as a security operations utilize those AI-powered security platforms and techniques? Lastly is, I'm going to go again in those deeply, is collaboration. So collaboration, we always need this information sharing. What happened in your organization, uh, especially in terms of signature, IOCs can be shared with other people. So yeah, let's go to the next one, Lisa. Uh, Threat hunting. Threat hunting, I've seen many organizations do it differently, but it's always about the user behavior. User behavior is really important in threat intelligence. So if you detect the compromise, how you detect it is signs coming from IOCs like mainly bad reputation IBs. So we can do threat hunting manually, but it's really the best to do it is automated. One of those tools that really provided by the Canadian Cyber Center is called Aventile. So Aventile is an automated threat intelligence sharing services. So I would recommend to anyone working in cybersecurity operations is to find this tool. It's really useful to connect this tool to your defense system like SIM. I personally connected to my SIM and it's really working. It's really kind of real time feeding firewalls and SIM with IOCs. But in terms of structure way of doing things, like we really recommend to people working in cybersecurity operations is to utilize the military attack framework, mapping it to your firewall or SIM and SIM rules, just to understand where are they now. So think about the kill chain and where the attacker can go so far in the network and the systems. All those things comes to the point where if you really did your threat hunting very well, you're going to be really good in response. Response is how fast you can respond. Building those KPIs, MTTR. The main time to respond is really noticeable when people are really structured. Yeah, let's go to the second one. International collaboration. What we see it is international collaboration now between governments and law enforcement is really important. Some of those examples of collaboration between governments is South Korea and Canada. They had really good cooperations. They worked on many small projects. Another one is the Canadian Cyber Center Security is working with the Five Eyes Their partnership is really important because they took down many threat actors. So if you go to the news, you'll find how many threat actors they got there. It's really important to mention also that the cyber security is all about working together. It's a teamwork where trust is the cornerstone. Canadian Army also has September 2024 started a program where they work with allies, and basically cooperation is a key in threat intelligence. Let's go to the next one. I think I already mentioned to this, but when we talk about proactive cyber defense strategy, what's it? It's basically implementing security by design. Security by design and systems is a concept that we really need to do it. Penetration testing, where red teaming acting like, can we find something before the bad actors find it? And continuous monitoring. Really, the zero trust has significantly implemented in many organizations, and people seeing limited and reduced attacks, especially in lateral movement and network access. This terminology is really wild, and mostly Cloud Security Alliance is really doing really good job in this one. So yeah, if you take time just studying what's zero trust, there's some certificates specialized in zero trust. Our heroes always sitting on unnoticed, but they work really hard. They work in security operation centers. So anyone working in cybersecurity center is noticing that the most difficult thing there is analyzing the massive volume of data. There's a lot of data coming from the SIM, from the firewalls, from the logs, events. So how do we analyze them? We leverage artificial intelligence. That's really something that we need to understand. Now, when it comes to OT, the main thing there is a concept is saying air gapped. So air gapped, that means segmentation. So network segmentation is something that we really emphasize on anyone working on SCADA systems, for example. So why do we do it? Is basically nothing should be available for anyone outside the network. And those are the main defense strategies, but you can think about more and more. Important links. I can collect it for you really good links. One of them is, the first one is the study or the strategy for the Canadian government. So they did an assessment for 2025, 2026, really good assessment. I recommend reading this PDF file, has a lot of information. But the second link is talking about reporting. So we agree that cybersecurity is a national security. It's a public safety. So if you see something really significant and you want to protect us, citizens of Canada, what do? You report it. Reporting really mitigates a lot of risks. So that I put the link there. So how to report national security information, including terrorists or cyber criminals. I put the link for the metric framework, and I'm sure that all of you know what's metric framework. It's a framework that really explain to us the kill chain framework, where those attackers coming from. They're coming from vulnerabilities. They take advantage of those vulnerabilities. Then what techniques they use, what procedures they use, TTBs. Mostly, yeah, and then link to the study that research that I got the information, those diagrams. Interesting topic, but I put those links for you so you can read more. To summarize, the whole thing we're talking here is we're talking about two threat groups, two threat actors. One is called terrorists, the other one is called cyber criminals. What do? They use digital tools for their operations, and that's get us into a problem which is harmful activities. It gets really increased and it's really urgent, and it really needs urgent attention from everyone, from the top all the way down. We really need to emphasize on the intelligent-led security strategies, predict things before they happen. Threat hunting is really important. Prevent things, which is really important to block malicious IPs, and work really smart to mitigate attacks. The collaboration is really our cornerstone of success in defeating those bad people. Law enforcement always there to help us, so report anything you see suspicious to them. And for that, I think one thing that you really, for anyone who wants to, yeah, you can open the link, Lisa. For anyone who wants to visualize the attacks that's really happening around the world, there are many platforms that really can make you understand like what's happening in real time. So for example, FortiGuard Labs, they created this platform, but you'll find all those security providers, they have similar map. What do we see? We see real-time attacks. So from a country to a country, how this helps you in cybersecurity operations, you really need to focus on the attacks that's really targeting your country or where your data centers are located. Examine your company, search, do threat hunting, saying, okay, if there's attack coming to my country or to where my data center is, do I have the vulnerabilities? So if you don't have the vulnerabilities or you don't have the software, it's not applicable to you. But it's more applicable to someone else. Now, doing threat hunting always, it's a query task. You need to query this to your devices. If you see something, you start your incident response procedures. With that, I will leave you to the questions. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Sami, for this interesting presentation and all this information. So now the microphones are turned back on. So time for questions. So please go ahead if you have any question. So any questions from the audience?
They say silence is golden. There's a hand raised, Islam.
Yeah, it's interesting. Any questions?
Somebody had their hand raised. I didn't see who though.
Hi, Sami. Hello, Dr. Islam. Thank you very much for the presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's Tariq here, and I'm one of the alumni. Actually, I graduated just a couple of years after Sami and Lisa. Sami, please, when you get a chance after, try to email me or call me. I'll send you my phone number because I'd like to talk to you more about your presentation. I have just, I really like the topic, digital threats and cyberterrorism. However, I just wanted to touch base on the cybersecurity as national security and reporting and companies and businesses. I need help because I have a business. I'm on the B level, I assume, here in terms of classification. But I will need help talking to you if you don't mind later on email or call me. And then we can maybe discuss more your presentation. This is it for now. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Tariq. So it's our pleasure to see you and see all of our alumni. For sure, they will contact you after the presentation. So any questions? Any more questions? Any more questions from our audience?
I think everybody's just absorbing it all. There was a lot of information to absorb.
definitely a lot of,
Yes, please go ahead,
yeah,
Tracy.
definitely a lot of information. I played with this a while ago at the technical level and like to get back into that with the protocols, etc. in the OT space. Areas where you deal with the protocols that your critical infrastructure works on. Area, the more technical area. And in the past, I was working in active scanner product that was to come out of Nessus until they bought a company out of Israel to do that equivalent item. And to what I learned from my experience, to be simplified, is active scanning on OT is not advised, especially in particular if it's using real-time networking protocols.
Good. So Lisa and Sammy, do you have any comment about that?
He is correct. We do not real-time scan.
Yeah, it is true. That's what we call it air-gapped. Air-gapped, it means anything OT related shouldn't show to the internet. So if you scan your OT environment and you see something showing to the internet, this is wrong practice.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you should be using passive scanners is what is the best thing, and only run an active scanning type environment in a test lab. And or when systems are in maintenance, when the infrastructure is in maintenance mode, where it will not turn on or off critical services and systems.
Yeah, and that means you mean the internal scan.
Yeah, an internal scan, but I mean by active scanning, even internally, and especially when you're running real-time networking protocols, where the real-time is critical to it, and especially and alternatively, and in particular, if you're using Modbus where there is data loss, if the information is done in particular UDP packaging or equivalent.
Agree. And that's where things come together, especially technicals come with policies. So yeah, controls not only technicals, but also management and governance policies saying you cannot do this thing.
Okay, great. So let's take another question from Tracy.
Yeah, I just have a question. So do you see links like when there's big events happening? Like I'm thinking like in Calgary, the G7 event is coming and I sit on a couple of boards. And so, one of the things we're talking a lot about is just with the increased focus with world leaders coming here, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see sort of events like that generally you'll see a bigger cyber attack focused in certain areas that are having that, or is it more based, more military type events that you see more of the cyber attacks? Because I know we're pretty nervous about it, to be honest, and trying to do all the right things to prevent against it. But in my brain, it feels like, there's a higher risk when you've got events like that happening. But I was just curious through your experience if that's what you see or not so much.
Sammy, that's going to be your question. I work critical infrastructure.
So how I see it in travel policy. So those significant executives or VIP people, we always advise them to travel with equipment that doesn't contain sensitive information. We always advise them not to use like the hotel or public Wi-Fi. That's where they get attacked. But there are advanced techniques to prevent these things and also detections. One of the platforms that I used in the past to protect VIP people is called ZeroFox. What does it do? You put the name of the person that you want to protect them, and it monitors all those social media if someone mentions something there, because usually it starts there. Someone on Facebook saying, I'm going to do something. So yeah, I recommend you to look at this platform. It's called ZeroFox. But there are many techniques to do it. Protecting significant people takes time, but yeah, just advising them not to carry significant, like give them a new laptop, give them a new phone. That's supposed to be the organization protect them.
I think family automation is amazing when it comes to protecting events. So like the G7 or they have I think in Calgary the OPEC or oil meet.
Derek, you're muted.
Yep, you're muted. So, like, meanwhile, so please ensure you provide your name, email address, and the brief feedback so we can send your certificate of attendance. I shared the link with you in the chatting area. So, any other questions? Any other questions?
Checkpoint firewall. If you have a question about checkpoint firewalls, I have a friend of mine, Fadi. He works in Ottawa at Checkpoint for the fella that I was talking about, technical intact protocols and scanners. And product is Checkpoint Firewall.
Great, great. Okay, so I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Lisa and Sami for sharing their expertise with us today. We truly appreciate you taking the time to speak with our community. And thank you everyone for attending the seminar. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you
so much.
You too. Thanks. Sami, call me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.